Hi, and welcome to Authentically ADHD with me, your host, Carmen Irace. I am a teacher, a life coach, a lifelong learner, and an ADHDer. I created this podcast to create community, to create a place for us to learn together as the newest research comes out about this complex neurodevelopmental disorder. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, my friend. How are you? Welcome back to the podcast. I've been doing pretty good. How are you? It's very cold and snowy here in Chicagoland, and it's the middle of the school year, so stress is a bit high in my world, and everyone around me seems to need a break. I've been learning more and more about how to identify, process, and regulate my emotions in my ADHD coaching program Focused, and realized that I feel a ton of fear, like a lot. I am a chronic overthinker. How about you? Anxiety, ADHD, and depression have that in common, overthinking. So I've been listening to Jon Acuffs Book Soundtracks, which I will link to in the show notes, because it's all about overthinking and how to stop defaulting to the overthink and start developing positive self-talk, which he calls soundtracks. And I love how he named it because I love music, so when viewing the thoughts that we think is the soundtracks that play our lives is a pretty awesome perspective for me. This book has helped me in the insightful and exhausting emotional development that I've been doing as well. This is because the opposite of fear is bravery. And Soundtracks talks a lot about bravery and how it plays into changing our negative internal thought loops, or broken soundtracks, as John calls them, into new soundtracks, or positive, believable, true, new thoughts that help us to grow in our personal and professional lives. I'm not sure about you, but being brave is something that has always been hard for me. And I'm guessing because you clicked play on this episode, you might also be a chronic overthinker like I am, and you're looking for more ways to be brave too. You may find that you feel fear more than bravery. You came to the right place. To be clear, I am not talking about our impulsive bravado that our ADHD sometimes fuels. I am talking about that deep fear or rejection sensitivity dysphoria you may feel when setting a new big goal. That feeling in the pit of your stomach whenever you try something new and you have no choice but to be brave or run for your life. A bit dramatic, but tell me you don't relate, for real. You wouldn't still be listening, I don't think. Now, this is true for all humans. It's a human behavior. We all feel fear. And it's paralyzing whether you have ADHD, anxiety, depression, all three, or none of them. Fear is an innate response our bodies and brains have. Remember, your brain is always trying to keep you safe. But sometimes it doesn't keep us safe. It actually stunts our growth in some areas of our lives. Sometimes when you experience the bigger fears with these mental health issues, it can be absolutely debilitating. The difference between paralyzing and debilitating is that when something is paralyzing, you can usually get over it within a certain amount of time. But debilitating means that it takes a longer time to be able to do anything. Just think about it for a second. How many things have you not tried or given up on because of fear? See, the problem is that so many of us let fear stand in the way of our dreams. We listen to our brain's fear response, thought loops, or broken soundtracks, as John calls them in his book, and we let them stop us. This book changed the way I let fear affect me, because he taught me how to replace my broken soundtracks with the new ones that actually help me, and bravery is such a big part of it. I know you're thinking, like, okay, this podcast was supposed to be about bravery. Why are you talking about music, Carmen? because the negative and or positive thought loops in our lives is what changes our lives. The soundtracks you live by determine your success in life, and there's data to support this. These broken soundtracks lie to you and tell you you aren't good enough, you are not important, no one cares what you have to say, it's too hard, so why even try? Hey, my ADHD friend. I am super excited to announce that my ADHD coach, Kristen Carter, is running an emotional balance course about emotional regulation and emotional literacy in November. So please go to my show notes and click the link to get $50 off of your first payment and come regulate emotions with me. See the magic that happens. Because I swear, she's transformed my life. It is the program for adults with ADHD. So go to my show notes and click that link and join Focused today, or at least by November 1st, so you can be a part of this awesome experience. Well, why? Why even talk about bravery? Why does it matter? Because fear is never going to help you grow. Fear keeps you in a comfortable place, and usually you'll stay there. Even if you don't like it, you stay because it's comfortable there and so scary out there in the world. But nothing satisfactory will come from fear. And my ADHD coaching program and Jon's books have taught me that if we let fear take over, we will forever be stunted to grow in many aspects of our lives. We will never do, say, or try anything our sneaky brain tells us is not safe, just because it's new or scary. The great news is, as Jon says, we can retire these broken soundtracks and replace them with new ones. Becoming the very best version of you requires getting out of your comfort zone and choosing more brave and courageous ways to replace those soundtracks that say I can't, to make them say, what if I can? Yes, I said choose to be brave. Did you know that bravery is a choice? Yep, it's not a feeling. It can be, but it's mostly something you choose. Bravery is a huge part of personal growth, but the super cool part is that we can use our bravery to grow, and we can use our personal growth to be more brave and overcome fears. When I first sat down to start podcasting, I was absolutely terrified, but bravery helped me because I had a soundtrack. I have a voice. I want to share all the things I learned to help others, and they do care what I have to say. So I know these concepts can help you too. Now again, I don't want you to misunderstand and think that 1 month of emotional work and one audiobook completely changed all of my thinking. I am not saying that we can get rid of all of our broken soundtracks and all of our fears. Fear is a natural part of life, so that would be pretty much impossible and unachievable. What I am saying is that you can choose bravery in the face of fear to follow your dreams, achieve new goals, and reach your full potential. Hey listener, if you're enjoying this show, you should totally subscribe to it so that you can see when new episodes pop right up into your feed. In Spotify, if you go up at the top and hit click follow, it'll notify you every time there's a new episode. Then, really quick, as you're listening to this, right under the follow little bubble, there's a rating bubble. If you could just rate this podcast and give some feedback, possibly maybe answer the poll question that's underneath the podcast, I would really, really appreciate it. I hope that you're enjoying whatever you're doing today or tonight. Have a great one. Now, this sounds easy enough, right? It's not. I mean, it's a simple concept, but it isn't as easy as you think. Otherwise, a lot more people would be super successful. Another thing Jon taught me is all successful people have one thing in common: bravery. Not IQ, not social status or money, but bravery. That one fact amazed me. But it's not easy. If you're a chronic overthinker like me, we have so many negative thought loops that a lot of times we can't even identify them at first. Here are some of mine. Why are you trying this again after you've already failed at it so many times before? You are mediocre at best. If you put yourself out there, they will laugh and ridicule you. Does any of that sound familiar or remind you of one of your own? Good. Write it down and keep recording these negative thought loops or broken soundtracks each time they come up. Remember, our brains have plasticity. They can grow, change, and adapt. So replacing our broken soundtracks can be done. And here is how I've started to replace mine, thanks to Jon's book. The 3 questions to ask your negative soundtracks. Is it true? The first question is it true? Remember, our brains are not reporting the news. Our thoughts are sentences in our brains that we can choose to believe or not. So my broken soundtrack of just being mediocre, it's not true. I am unique. I feel I've broke the mold when I was born, and people do care what I have to say, or you wouldn't be listening to this podcast and I wouldn't be creating them for you. The second question is it helpful? I'm going to use Monday as an example here. Do you dread Mondays? Most people dread Monday and see it as this awful day, but is that helpful? Usually Monday will be awful if you think that way, and the rest of the week will be as well. Wouldn't it be more helpful to think of Monday as a clean slate instead of something dreaded? When I put my thought of no one cares what I have to say through this question, it's not helpful at all. It's still difficult to identify and change my broken soundtracks, but I'm telling you, it's possible. The third question to ask is it kind? Our broken soundtracks are so ingrained because we have been thinking them for so long, and they're never kind. When you notice that your broken soundtrack makes you feel inadequate or bad about yourself, it's not kind. I'll just tell you right now that unkind soundtracks will stunt your personal and professional growth because we retreat in fear and we stay small and safe. So how do we create true, kind, and helpful soundtracks to believe in order to meet our full potential? I do need to warn you, it's not easy. It's a simple principle, but actually doing it is hard, and it doesn't happen overnight. So resilience and persistence are key. Emotional literacy is also important here. Knowing, identifying, and regulating our emotions, and expanding our self-awareness by writing down your broken soundtracks and challenging them, flip them into helpful, kind, and true thoughts so you could actually believe. That's what's going to help you. If you're trying to decide if a soundtrack is broken or not, ask yourself this question. Would I say this to a close friend or loved one? Now, I'm not saying that this will get rid of all your negative thought patterns, but when we change our negative self-talk into positive thoughts, we believe we get further in life, and we could do this with more of our thoughts. It's a switch, not a dial. You can't turn off a broken soundtrack. You could retire it, but it will try to sneak back in. It may get loud again. Just turn it down, like a dial on the radio, and turn up one of your new soundtracks. I've attached a freebie for you to record your thoughts with, your old and new soundtracks, in this show notes blog. Turn down your thoughts with physical activity or a complete change in your environment. I like to take showers, go on walks, runs, and journal. So, like I said, this takes time and practice, but I will let you in on a very, very big secret. Bravery is a choice, not a feeling. I mentioned that before. You can choose to be brave. Think about it. As you grew up, you had no choice in the face of wanting to walk, but to be brave, to talk, to go to school, and all the new things that you have done. It's because you chose bravery. Bravery is a skill that can be practiced. So find your purpose, record your soundtracks, and start to challenge them with those questions. I promise you'll do more things that require bravery. So if this episode intrigued you and you want to know or learn more, I'd highly suggest you get the book Soundtracks by Jon Acuffs, linked in the show notes. And if you want to take these strategies and learn to implement them in a awesome community for adults with ADHD, I suggest using my link to join Focused in the show notes. Start replacing your broken soundtracks today. We'll both get $50 off our first month, and it will be amazing. That's all I have for now, friends. Stay authentic. We'll talk soon.